How's it going, Jack Tackers, and welcome back to another video for you guys. Today I'm going to be doing a Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 theory, going over what could happen to Dwight and how Rick could return and everything that could play out with these two characters. But first, remember, if you guys are new, make sure to check out my social media and vlogging channel down in the description below. And without further ado, let's get into this. So yeah, I came up with this theory, and I don't know how likely it is to actually happen. It's a bit out there, I guess, but in a way, I also do think it could happen, just because of all the news we know going into Season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead, and how it is going to actually be connected to Rick's return in some sort of way. And we don't know exactly how it's going to go down, but I'm assuming there is going to be a massive connection to Rick in Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, but not at the beginning of this season. Like, I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of it. Maybe some hints, like we see that guy in the hazmat suit, so maybe there's some things going on with that and a bunch of other stuff in this first half. But I'm thinking this could happen in like the Season 5 finale, or maybe in the second half of the season. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Take this with a grain of salt, obviously, because it's just a theory, but I really like this theory. So basically, there's a lot to go over here. And what does this have to do with Rick and Dwight in specific? Well, basically, I'm going to be getting into some comic spoilers here. So if you have not read the comics, yeah, do not watch any more of this video. But if you don't care about spoilers for the comics, it is a pretty big event, or thing, I guess, that happens in the comics. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled for that, then leave now. But if you're okay with spoilers, then yeah, stick around. Or if you have read your comics up to date, and you probably know where this is going since I'm talking about Rick and Dwight. Basically, in the comics, Rick kills Dwight. So yeah, how is that going to actually correlate into this season? I'm going to be explaining it. So yeah, Rick kills Dwight in the comics, and I would love to kind of see something like this play out in Fear the Walking Dead. Now, not right off the bat, obviously, as I previously mentioned. This would be in the second half, like towards the finale, if not the finale episode. So I think it could work, especially if we see Dwight and just sort of his character development and where he's at throughout this season. And obviously, there needs to be a reason for Rick to kill Dwight. Now, if this was all-out war, I think Rick would just automatically kill Dwight. Or, you know, if this was back in Season 7, Rick would have just killed Dwight. If you guys remember back in Season 7 when he was at Alexandria and how pissed off Rick was and he was about to kill him. Rick's not like that anymore. Obviously, he's a very different person now. As we saw him at the beginning of Season 9, he still kills people, but he gives people more chances, I should say. So he would not kill Dwight right off the bat if he saw him. Yeah, so it would have to make sense, and I think one way it could make sense is, here's another thing I'm going to eventually have to explain, but what if Dwight has like a gun aimed at Morgan? Now, it's very similar in the comics because Dwight's kind of losing his shit, and he's pointing a gun at, a gun at the governor, Pamela Milton, from the Commonwealth. It doesn't have to be at the Commonwealth. I think this could work perfectly with Morgan, and especially, we could tie this all back to Sherry. Now, okay, Sherry, what does this have to do with anything? Well, there's actually something similar to this in the comics. We do see Sherry and a small group of saviors after all that war in the New Beginning story arc kind of go against Rick. They don't want Rick to really be around anymore, and Sherry kind of loses her shit a little and attacks Rick, and then Rick in self-defense has to kill Sherry. What if something similar to this happens in Season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead with Morgan? But again, it actually doesn't have to play exactly like that, because it could be a bit different, because Dwight could just see Morgan and maybe Sherry dies, and then for some reason, basically it looks just like really sketchy from Dwight's point of view. We see how sketchy it looks, like Dwight thinks Morgan killed his wife. And, we don't know if Sherry is for sure going to be in season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead, but it could totally work because we know Dwight's out looking for Sherry after the events of season 8. So it would make sense if we do see Sherry, maybe it looks like Morgan killed her, or maybe for some reason Sherry gets pissed off at Morgan, or she thinks he's a threat for some reason. I don't know all the specifics, but it could kind of be similar to actually what happens in the comics with the small uprising, and Sherry kind of attacks Rick. Sherry attacks Morgan, and things are just really sketchy with Dwight and Morgan, and then maybe in the finale he just has all these feelings that are just built up, and he has a gun pointed at Morgan. So yeah, we're already kind of in a similar situation to what happens with Dwight and Rick in the comics. And let's say Rick shows up in like episode 15, and this is happening in the finale, and Rick's just like, Dwight, you need to calm down, and everyone's just trying to calm Dwight down because Dwight's just had all these feelings because he thinks Morgan killed Sherry, or Morgan actually, who knows, maybe he actually did. It depends. They could do either way. I think it could work, but we would have to have a reason for Sherry actually attacking Morgan, because there's a reason for it in the comics, but they'd have to remix it in a sort of way. But maybe Dwight's just losing it, and Rick's just like, you know what, I tried to stop you, and he just shoots him in the head, very similar like in the comics. Now, honestly, I hope this theory makes sense because it's pretty much all over the place here. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is we get the comic death of Dwight with actually Rick pulling the trigger, and obviously there'd have to be a reason for Dwight to act all crazy towards Morgan. I think it would work better, especially since Rick loves Morgan. Like, they're bros, dude. Like, Rick would do anything to save Morgan's life, and he's trying to calm down Dwight, but he gives him enough chances, and then he's like, you know what, dude, I'm gonna kill you, and then we get that blam splash page, and that'd be so cool to actually see come out on screen, and I think it would be really cool. Again, there would have to be some reasoning why Dwight would be so crazy towards Morgan, and there definitely just needs to be some more character development with Dwight and Sherry and Morgan, and it would stretch out all through season 5. Again, I wouldn't really know the specifics, so that's the reason why I kind of think this theory is, I don't know, sort of out there. Plus, Rick is involved heavily in this. But yeah, guys, let me hear your thoughts on this theory. Would you like to see the comic death from Dwight? I think it'd be really cool. Would you love to see Rick's return? Do you think this could actually work? For those of you who have read the comics and know what I'm talking about, and you know in more detail, and do you think it could work? Like, I think it could. But again, as I said many times, it's a bit out there, but, who knows? I just think it was a really cool theory, and I think since we know Rick's going to be connected to Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 in some sort of way, and Dwight's in Season 5, I think it just, adds up perfectly, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I think it could work great, and we don't even need to have that whole Commonwealth story that happens in the comics. I mean, maybe we will in, The Walking Dead Season 10, but Fear the Walking Dead, I think this could work if it's connected to Rick in some sort of way, and Dwight's in it. Hello, let's connect the dots. It could work. Who knows? But let me hear your thoughts on this theory. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Boop.